Hey, this ThinkerThunker. Remember that kind of goofy, silly, weird footage from a few years back? Security cam footage that somebody caught of like some neighborhood kid wearing underwear on their head doing the funky chicken. Well, I found where that kid is luminescent from head to toe, or is at least reflective. Go check it out. It's on TT2, my second YouTube channel. I'm doing a new series out there called Explain That.
I'm looking at this giant figure, huge, 8 feet tall, non-human gait. I'm trying to classify what this thing is, but it's not real. And I know what it is, but what it is not real.
The arms of these things went well below their knees, unbelievably long arms.
When I looked up, there was a young male looking at me.
Something's going around my tent. It stops behind me, and then contact.
We really tried to get pictures, but these things seem to outfox us.
Something is leaving footprints.
As you start utilizing the data and you start seeing the data tell the story, the whole story unfolds right before your eyes.
The way it pulled its little one, its young behind it with its arm. I mean, I can't even put it in words. It was so unreal.
Knowing about them, they seemed too intelligent for me to consider them as something you could go out and hunt like an animal.
That is, whoa.
So these were brought here.
I had one client talk about how muscular it was and how broad its shoulders were and how it's just was in awe of this incredibly majestic creature.
You will always have that with you. You will always remember that moment.
When he was walking away, I called out to him, "You're the most beautiful creature in the world. Please don't go."
I was that person. I did not believe. I just thought it was a myth.
Open up your minds because they're out there.
Hey, this is ThinkerThunker, and that is the trailer for a new documentary called A Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed. Miss Thunker and I watched it this past weekend, watched it online. 2 thumbs up from us. We dug it. There's some great encounter stories, things we'd never heard before. There's some thought-provoking stuff in there. Dr. Jeff Meldrum's in there, and he always brings a certain legitimacy to any project he's in. Ron Moorhead was in it. He's the last guy you saw talking in the trailer. He's the Sierra Sounds recording guy where you hear the amazing Bigfoot chatter. He talks about something I'd never heard him say, so it's worth it, just for all that I just mentioned. And then they end a perfectly good, perfectly entertaining, informative documentary with this photograph, which I've obviously blacked out, and this one. And so go watch the documentary, come back, and then we're going to take a look at this thing and see if it was worth being the climax of their project. Let's check it out. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I assume you've all watched the documentary now because, fair warning, in 5 seconds, I'm going to remove the veil of darkness here and reveal the mystery beast below. In 3, 2, 1, voila. There it is. This is one of 2 pictures that they ended the documentary in. This was the climax of the documentary. So apparently the makers of this documentary really believed in this image a great deal. All I want to do is simply measure it and take a decent look at it. But first, check this out. Measurement is an integral part of modern science. And then specifically this part. Measurement is often considered a hallmark of the scientific enterprise. Measuring is science. Now, I'm bringing this up because I bet a jillion times I've heard people say, man, it sure would be nice if science would finally weigh in on the whole Bigfoot argument thing. Or I don't know how many times people in my comments have said, wow, ThinkerThunker, that was really amazing. Wouldn't it be cool if a scientist actually took a look at your findings? And week after week in these Bigfoot shows, you'll hear them say stuff like, well, there is no scientific proof that Bigfoot exists. So until then, I'm just going to have to keep searching, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's something I've never revealed to any of you, but before I got my degree, which was in computer science, I worked for years and years for a major helicopter manufacturer who built helicopters for the government. I made specialty, high precision parts and jigs and tools used by the manufacturing end, who would then in turn make thousands of parts. So everything I did essentially had to be perfect, down to 1 to 3 thousandths of an inch. Everything I made was inspected by quality control guys. It was their job to kick out anything if I didn't have it perfect. All right? So I had to have my own calipers and micrometers and all of these specialty scientific measuring devices. So I could sell myself as a measurement expert to any court in the land. I could demonstrate those skills. So the next time you hear somebody say there is no scientific proof of Bigfoot, they're going to be mistaken, because I'm about to show you scientific, repeatable proof. So what I've done here, I've chopped up the photograph and I've given it a skeleton so that we can move things around. And I'm going to move these limbs out here to the side. And now watch. I'm going to bend them. And you won't see any distortion or any stretching. All right? Now I'm going to bend the leg. Let me straighten it up a little bit. There. Now we can see the wrist would start way up here. All right? And now, while we can't see the foot, we see the ankle is down to here. So you don't need any high precision tools and gauges to see that arm is much, much shorter than this leg. And now we're going to do just a simple comparison. We've got a normal adult human male next to the documentary Bigfoot, which is like trying to pick his pocket. And next to them is the Patterson Bigfoot. And I've tried to scale them roughly to the same height, but it doesn't have to be precision, because look at their arms and legs over here. We can clearly see that the human's arm is much, much shorter than his leg. Same as you, same as me, same as all normal adult humans. The same thing can be said for the documentary Bigfoot. It shares the same body ratios as we humans. Make of that what you will. But if you look at Patty, her arm is every bit as long as her leg. And in the video, we see this arm working and bending. It's a functional arm, it's not a prop. So you don't need some guy in a lab coat with letters next to his name and pocket protectors and beakers in the room and specialty measuring gear and all of that. You can use your eye and see that something weird is going on here. We've got two different groups. Arms shorter than legs, arms same length as legs. So now we know. Looking at Skeletor here, it has human body ratios. It looks like a cheap costume with the same receding hairline and the same kind of too brassy, too coppery of a fur, and the same kind of loose-fitting, clunky-looking cheap suit that appears to have folds in it, and the same less than impressive physiques, that it looks like a dude in a cheap monkey suit. Okay, so could I prove in a court of law that this was a dude in a monkey suit? Well, maybe not 100%, but I think I could prove reasonable doubt. So now at least we've gone beyond just looking at it and saying, yeah, I knew the first second I looked at it. Because I did know the first second I looked at it, that it was a dude in a monkey suit. But at least now we've measured and we've compared and come to a conclusion in a more scientific way. What I want to know is, How did this happen? How is it that two working professionals, and no telling how many more that were involved with this project, you know, in production and editing and all, how is it they all looked at these two images here and here, and we're all like, yes, you know, this is the money shot. You know, this is the big ending we've been waiting for. And don't blame the eyewitnesses and the experts that were in this documentary, because they have no control of what a director might put in here. You know, they don't share those things with you. You just do your part and you're done, and that's it. They don't ask your advice of anything generally. Directors can be guilty of thinking they know everything, thinking they know more than anyone in the world on any given subject, whether they've ever read or studied anything about it at all. I happen to have firsthand experience with that. There's actually a phenomenon called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's when you're so uninformed that you can't even conceive that there's a world of information that you'll probably never know about. That's what I think happened here. I think somebody watched the Patterson film once back in the 80s and then like, hey, these look enough like that. And that was all the thought that went into it. And they could have never conceived that there were people like us. And when I say us, I'm talking about my patrons and YouTube members and people who watch my videos and others who are so sophisticated on all this. And we've trained our eye and we've educated ourselves and we measure and we are as scientific as possible. You know, they could never dream that all that's going on. So, man, this should be a wake-up call to all of us. Never assume that you're an expert on a topic or know as much as anybody. You know, read things you don't normally read. Watch videos from people you would normally watch. Just so that you can make sure that you're getting a nice grouping of information so that you can then make a more informed decision. Bottom line, I hate hoaxes. But when something like this does come along, I'm going to jump on it and I'm going to measure it. And if anything, it proves yet again that whatever it is in the Patterson film, she's not human. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. I couldn't do it without you guys. All right, everybody. Take care.